So Gamescom's opening night live was yesterday. We've already talked about the stuff like Black Ops 6, that gameplay reveal that happened there, but frankly, there's a lot of cool stuff that I wish I had the time to talk to you about, games that I'm super excited for, like Borderlands 4, Arc Raiders, Dune Awakening, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. There's a lot of stuff that out of that show I'm personally looking forward to. Might even have to kickstart that second channel of mine for the first time in about a year plus, and probably for like the 5th time total, but this time, maybe I should actually stick with it, actually upload some games, tutorials, and guides and stuff. But anyways, we're getting off topic. Not to do that, Delta Force was another one of those games that had some news revealed to the public, a few broader scale announcements that I think that you should be aware of. So today we're running down what you need to know and keep you in the loop with all of it. So drop your thoughts down below, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe for more Delta Force coverage along with other FPS content. As we've talked about here, that you've probably seen on the channel, Black Ops 6 is going to be something that in the next week is going to have a massive reveal with COD Next and that multiplayer reveal, the beta shortly to follow. So while we'll be touching on stuff like Delta Force and other FPS games, we do have a lot of big ticket items coming up as well. So if you'd like to join the community, I'd love to have you. But anyways, let's get into it. So as for the general gameplay showcase that took place during opening night live, it wasn't really anything too crazy or out of the ordinary. It was just some B-roll footage taking a look at what was on offer currently as just a way to showcase it at Gamescom. Grand scheme of things, when Delta Force mentioned their involvement for opening night live, if I'm honest with you, I kind of expected a bit longer of a segment here with some larger reveals or like a new map showcase or some details on the game's launch inevitably, but what we got was like more informative rather than like gameplay and visual related, if that makes sense. Still important stuff and details, but it wasn't like a worldwide premiere like we saw with other big ticket reveals that happened at opening night live. So what was shown off at Gamescom was some major announcements where Delta Force Hawk Ops will be in PC early access in Q4. It'll be playable at Steam Next Fest in October. It's being renamed, and there's going to be console and mobile news coming soon. So let's break this down a little bit further into a couple of different areas that I think we should talk about. Firstly, a general understanding of Next Fest. This is going to be something that this is on the calendar side of things, the closest thing that we have here in regards to a playable state outside of the current PC closed alpha. Now, for a general understanding of Next Fest, what is it? It's a week-long event from October 14th to the 21st this year, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time on the 14th. They have a few of these every year, but it's, in Steam's words, a week-long celebration of upcoming games where customers can try out demos, watch live streams from the developers, and wishlist their favorites. For developers, Steam Next Fest is an opportunity both to get early feedback from players and build an audience and wishlist for a future launch on Steam. So, in regards to like the give and take here, we get to play the game and see more of it. The developers get to push out more information and boost wish lists for the game, which I think I saw already has over like 1.5 million wish lists on Steam alone. So pretty big in terms of that playable community that wants to check it out, that either may or may not have access to it already in the PC closed alpha, and that's just for PC. Again, when we talk about in the future with console and mobile, that's only going to grow even further. But where does Delta Force fit in with this? Presumably, it's going to be open to the public as a public demo or something like that. Perhaps the same version we have right now, but just playable for everyone. I also would imagine it's available for that entire week. And I fully recognize some of this is like doing a lot of assuming, but there's not a whole ton that was explicitly given to us, but based off of how prior Next Fests have gone, that's what makes sense. But then beyond that, they mentioned that a PC early access release would be happening in Q4. Now, that narrows it down to about 3 months, October, November, or December. However, I'd wager this is later Q4 perhaps, like maybe November at the earliest, December probably likely. If you're going to have the game playable at Next Fest and not in early access from October 14th to the 21st, you'll likely take some time off, right? To polish a few things, put out a new build perhaps, make some adjustments, you name it. But unless you just launch directly from Steam Next Fest, which is certainly possible, that would just seem odd to announce two separate things at that point when it could just be like, hey, early access starting with Steam Next Fest. I am curious though what will be added in relation to early access. Of course, we know that we're going to have more maps in both Havoc Warfare and Hazard Operations, but how many of those will release in early access? I think there's like on the map like 8 or 9 or something like that on the overall map for Hazard Operations that we know of those locations coming. Will they release all of them? Will there just be like an extra 2 or 3? We don't quite know at that point, but one other thing that I do hope will be coming with the PC early access X's release is controller support, which is currently not there for anybody playing on PC now. And I say this as somebody who plays both keyboard and mouse and controller. I don't care which. I just think it's nice to have that option if you want it. Now, it's awesome to hear about those two things, something of a playable build for everyone on PC and then early access shortly thereafter, perhaps immediately following. But both those things now beg the question, if we're talking about the next time we can play it, well, when will this current build that we have now on the PC closed alpha, when will that go away? Right now, there's no definitive ETA on when the PC closed alpha will conclude, but I'm kind of leaning on the more conservative side of thinking, hey, this might happen sooner rather than later. So I want to get my playtime in, get my experience in here so that I'm not blindsided by this going away and not having enough time to do all that I want to. There's definitely the possibility that the closed alpha goes until Steam Next Fest, and then it opens up to everybody for that week without a code necessary. But again, that's a long time for something to be in a closed alpha, then going almost directly into early access like that. So it's possible, but like, I feel like they're either going to take a break before or after Next Fest, possibly even both. But right now, if you plan the PC closed alpha, get your time in. I mean, there's nothing that says, hey, it's going to be going away soon, but who knows? With the two next big things foreshadowed, it might. Next, they did detail that console and mobile news was coming soon out of these announcements. There's no ETA on this just yet, unfortunately. I'm imagining it's sometime in the next few weeks. Again, with the sort of focus on Next Fest and the PC anticipation at that point, my guess is in the next couple of weeks here. If not, then probably after, right before the game launches into early access. Though honestly, the way timing has gone and the focus on PC first for the early access development of it, I don't know that I'd expect to see console and mobile launching any earlier than Q1 2025, but I would absolutely love to be wrong on that. I definitely think it'd be awesome to get how much anticipation there is already for the PC version and then transfer that also to the many millions of console players out there in the world. Oh, and finally, the last thing that was mentioned here as of news, they changed their name. It's now Delta Force, just Delta Force, not Delta Force Hawk Ops anymore. I entirely get it, way shorter, much more to the point, better brand recognition, but I also think that I've seen this as a kind of split decision between players. Some people love it, cleaner branding, get that entirely, but others might not like it as much because to them, maybe it washes away some of that legacy of Delta Force games. I mean, this is definitely not the Delta Force of old, and while I personally am okay with a sort of reboot of this, I also didn't have that attachment and growing up specifically on the Delta Force games. I get that it means something to a lot of people, so for that, totally understand. It's just one of those things that's subjective opinion. So that was the stuff that was announced as of yesterday with the opening night live stream feature. But coming out of that, I will say in regards to those announcements, I'm kind of surprised that we hadn't heard anything about the information on the Black Hawk Down remaster. I feel like that would have been a perfect time to be like, hey, here's another glimpse at it. Here's some more information about it, whatever the case. But beyond that, I am very happy to see things finally sort of progressing with this project. We've heard about Delta Force Hawk Ops, now just Delta Force for about a year now at this point, whereas being rebooted, we got our first little teasers for it. And so it's nice to see this all kind of coming together in a state where we're not only playing right now, but also it's going to finally reach the masses. And as I've said before, I think that this very much so is a game that has a lot of prospect and a lot of potential when it ends up eventually shipping to everyone. I mean, you have a little bit of everything for everyone, it seems like. A more faithful remaster of a classic Delta Force campaign when it's released in Black Hawk Down. You have a larger scale combat multiplayer akin to Battlefield with destruction and all that they even showcased a little bit of in that Gamescom footage that seems to really be grabbing that Battlefield community. The people that I've seen that I know and I'm friends with, they seem to really enjoy it in terms of like a direct competitor to that. For me, as just a fan of FPS games, like I'm cool with whatever I'll play, and as a more positive person, I feel like I find some positives in whatever I'm playing. And then you have an extraction shooter that, like I've said before, I really do think this is what DMZ could have been. This feels more like an extension of DMZ, like not even too much like an improvement in terms of like trying to one-up DMZ, but more so like if the game mode just had the time and developmental support for it and wasn't cut off after what, like Modern Warfare 2 Season 4 or something like that. Like it feels that familiar to me when I play this. So when we talk about this stuff and we learn about the future kind of finally being mapped out for Delta Force, I'm excited to see where this goes, what this means for the general player base in the community at large as we push towards a larger scale release on PC and then to everybody on every platform, including mobile, sometime shortly thereafter that. So We're getting there, but for now, that's where we're going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of these announcements for Delta Force? You like it, dislike them, whatever the case, drop your thoughts. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. We're doing all things Delta Force and, of course, a ton of FPS coverage, including a lot of Black Ops 6 upcoming because of the reveals and playable beta next week. But I'd love to have you guys in the community if you're at all interested. For now, though, thanks so much for watching. My name's been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.